So far, so good.
Great. Looks like we've got a full or sufficiently full house now.
Yeah.
Okay, I will call this meeting to order. And Brenda, if you'd call roll for us, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Board Member Boreski,
Present.
Board Member Mercier,
Present.
Board Member Ridley. Present. Board Member Roth.
Present.
Board Member Freeman is jumping on, so I'll come back to you. Councilmember Russell. Present. Councilmember Ward. Mayor Sierra.
Present.
Vice Chair Habernick. And Chair Moore.
Present. Thank you. To kick us off tonight, I'd like to formally welcome our two new council representatives, Rita Russell and Steve Ward. I know you guys got a nice preview last time, but we'll make it official this time, so thank you. Next, I'll move on to approval of minutes from the December 12th meeting, and could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, opposed or abstained? All right, thank you.
Abstain.
Motion. Okay, did you get that, Brenda?
Who abstained?
Caitlin, because I wasn't here.
Great, thank you, Caitlin. Motion carries.
Present too. I'm sorry, I had problem with getting access to my video and I'm present.
Welcome, Marshawn. Okay, public forum. Brenda, do we have anyone from the public to speak with us tonight?
We do not.
All right, thank you. We will move on to item number 6, which are informational items, just the letters of recognition to members Roth, Woodward, and Anderson. So they'll be getting, I should say they're getting those. Actually, Peter, we don't need to take a motion on that. It's just information.
No, I think it's just something that we send out to outgoing board members. We send a letter that acknowledges their service, and then a plan, right, is what we provide to people exiting off the board. I would also just comment, the board member Roth has been on the board for 8 years, and learned while we were waiting for the meeting that he's actually been serving on boards and commissions since 1992 for the city. So pretty long career dedicated to shaping the city policy and city directions. And so it sounds like he's looking to retire.
Kudos to you.
Following Jim out the door, huh? Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Don.
And I literally remember Don from one of my very first meetings, well, more than 20 years ago. So I'll vouch for that presence. Thanks, Don. All right, moving on to item 7, 7A, award of contracts for services with Core and Maine for advanced metering infrastructure conversion. And Sarah, I think you're taking the mic.
Yes, that is me. Let me just make sure the
Hold on, I got some Zoom things. There we go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So this is the only action item on the agenda tonight. This is a contract for services for advanced metering infrastructure. I invited Ryan Ratcliffe, our distribution and collections manager, to join the meeting as well. He can answer any questions we have on the technical pieces, and then once this metering infrastructure is installed, it will be his team's responsibility to maintain it and continue reading meters. So the background for and purpose for this project is one of the ones identified in the 2020 master plan and was included in the WIFIA program loan for meter modernization. We have a total of 10,094 existing meters. About 7,500 of those need full replacement. And then there's been about 2,600 that have been identified to be retrofitted. That's a cost saving measure that we can talk about a little bit later. But these are meters that are less than 10 years old. So we will wait till the end of their useful life before we fully replace those meters, but we can retrofit them with the technology that will be installed under the AMI contract. So the need for this project is because spare parts and software are no longer supported for our existing meters. It's also inefficient in the way we read meters today. There's 2,100 meters that need to be read manually each month. So 3 weeks out of the month are spent reading meters by our field services tech, and then that only leaves 1 week in the month for system maintenance, other activities. So the scope of work included under this contract is to provide equipment and software for the meter replacements and coordinating with the Cogsdale billing system. The contractor would also coordinate with residents and businesses to perform the replacement of these meters, even if it's an indoor meter or an outdoor meter, they would coordinate with those property owners. For the selection process, there was a request for proposal posted in August of 2023. The selection criteria included project understanding and management approach, the overall team experience and technical capability, the overall proposal quality and responsiveness, as well as a cost component that we considered for those that responded. We had 3 contractors that responded. As you can see here in the table, there were several different cost elements provided to total up to the total proposal price. Core and Main was selected, and we'll talk about why they were selected on the next slide here. Their initial proposal price was $4 million. Through the contracting process, we found some cost saving measures and have reduced that down to the $3.6 million. So through the selection process, the selection team interviewed Core and Main based on their initial price proposal and the quality of their proposal. It was compared to the others, what we were looking for. The initial proposal cost was higher than we had anticipated, so we looked for cost saving measures, and that included, the meters. We're not going to replace the meters that have been installed within the last 10 years, and then we're also going to use some utilities field staff to install meters if needed to reduce the cost of the total contract. So the total revised contract amount is $3.6 million. And we are splitting that between the water fund. So about $3 million of that will be assigned to the water fund. And because we use the water consumption and sewer billing, we assigned about 17% of the project costs to the sewer fund. So it's about $600,000. So our recommendation is to sign a contract with Core and Main for this project due to their extensive metering and billing system integration experience. They had a strong project understanding. They met our schedule requirements, which was to complete AMI installation in a year. And they also provided the lowest bid of the 3 respondents. With that, I will open it up for any questions.
So before that, if I could add a couple things on this. So this is the first step, is getting the contractor in place to actually put this type of technology in place. There's a public outreach component of this that will be very important as we start to implement this. And one of the things that that happens with this type of a meter replacement project is there's this phenomenon where when meters get old, they actually capture low flow through the meter. So what happens is if someone's using low flows through the meter, it'll register 0. So that person essentially ends up with water for free because it's not flowing at a high enough rate to actually register. When we install this type of technology, it eliminates that problem because the technology captures all the way down to the de minimis level of flow. So what happens, and what has happened for many other agencies who have installed AMI programs, is people say, you put my new meter in and my water bill went way up because my usage went way up, and it's way different than what I always use 2,000 gallons, and now you're saying I use 4,000 gallons. So that is something that we are already aware of. This is something that other agencies have experienced, and what it's doing is it's actually capturing, it's actually accurately capturing what is being sold to that individual and charging them appropriately what they should be paying for that water, so that they aren't getting that slow flow amount for free. So we're anticipating that. I want everybody on this board and council to be also aware of that, because that is one of the feedback points that we get out of these types of programs when we've talked to other municipalities nationally have done this, and many in Colorado have done this. And that's one of the things that comes out of this. So that will be part of the public outreach aspect of this, which is where we, after tonight, if the board recommends approval and ultimately get approval from council, that's the next step, is that outreach. Thank you, Chair.
Ty and then Marjan.
Thanks, Sarah. Quick question. What is the breakdown of meters that are in homes versus meter pits? And I was also curious, are we going to force the remaining unmetered homes to retrofit to AMIs now, or are they still going to have the option to stay on the unmetered flat rate?
So Ryan, do you know the number?
It's around 4,000 meters that are in meter pits in the ground, and around 6,500 or so that are in inside of homes or businesses.
And then Ty, to answer your other question, no, we will not force, through this project, we are not forcing folks that are unmetered to switch to metered service. This is just one-to-one replacements for current meter service.
However, that is also coming. It's not part of the MI program, but it is something that we're working on right now as part of code changes to accelerate this last 10% of our accounts that are on flat rate, because ultimately, as a water provider in the metro area in the West, the fact that we're not metering all of our accounts is actually kind of a little astonishing. It's in our water efficiency plan document. It's good business practice. It should actually save most people who are on a flat rate meter or flat rate. It should actually save them money, because when you're on a flat rate, you get charged a hefty rate because it's assuming a block rate. So that is not directly tied to this project. However, it is coming.
Good. That sounds good. The reason I asked about the meter pit versus the in basement, I was just curious how we were going to go about handling accessing some of those in-home meters where folks either don't want us to get in there, or it's unsafe conditions. It's an issue I'm running into now with some of the lead service line replacement work, and having to potentially build that into code to access those basements or spaces.
So on the lead service line aspect of this, we brought some code changes to council, I believe is a November timeframe, that got approved to allow for that access. How we operate, and so in code, it allows us to go in and do this based on those code revisions. How we operate is we work with the customer as much as possible to not be an inconvenience to them and not create a disruption. As it relates to meters, that rule has been in code for several decades. So from a meter perspective, because the meter is so important to quantifying the amount of water used, that's already been incorporated into code and is already an authority that the utility has in the circumstance where we need to do something like this. Additionally, as part of the lead service line project, or lead service line replacement project, we are going to try and move as many of those inside meter sets outside into a meter pit, since we're putting in a brand new line. So we're kind of attacking this from multiple different angles in coordination with that lead service line so that we get the best, at the end, we get the best possible system outcome for not just the system, but the customer as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Marjan?
Thank you so much. I was wondering, Sarah, so for the cost of the, like, some of the meters are so much further away from the street, right? So is there, like, does that distance create a difference in the cost? I'm sure it does, right? Or is that some sort of average that was considered in the price per unit?
I'm getting a head shake from Ryan that no, that cost does not change it. So the meter pit is, wherever the meter pit is, that contractor will go and replace it in the meter pit, or within somebody's home or business. But that does not affect the cost. It's just the equipment and the labor to make that replacement.
So each unit, how much does that cost?
I'd have to go back into the proposal to look. The cost is based on, there's a charge for inside of a home. There's a charge for outside in a meter pit, and then the cost increment goes up as the size of the meter goes up, because a larger meter requires more labor and more time to install.
So is that related on the square footage, or what is that related to? Like, is it like a multi-unit or versus a single family, or how does that gonna play a role in this new res conditions, like these single lots are gonna turn into, multiple units? I mean, how does that, you're envisioning that?
So it's actually based on service line size. So the vast majority of residential service lines are 3/4 inch. And so they'll have an associated 3/4 inch meter. I'm not exactly sure how things are going to shake out with any of that expanded development, other than if someone subdivides their lot into 2 lots, then it's 2 service lines, and they would pay for that additional service line. They pay all the impact fees associated with that service line. And then you'd have 2 3/4 inch meters, one serving one home.
Lighting. So, like if somebody is creating a duplex inside their single lot, then later on that costs, what would that be in telling, like how many thousands of dollars is that? I mean.
So if you have a single family home that's turning into a duplex, what
Right,
happens there is we give the property owner a credit for one of the service lines, which is the original service line that was there.
Mhm.
The new duplex has a separate service line that's connected to that half of the duplex independently. That service line, they pay for the cost of installation, that they pay for the meter, but they also pay the impact fees for that. The impact fees for for a water connection, for water and sewer, I believe is around $21,000 right now. So if they were to split from a single home to 2 homes, the cost to add that second half from an impact fee is $21,000 to add that service line.
I see.
And that's universally applied for any kind of redevelopment that increases the number of service lines or units on a property.
Thank you for answering that. And then, so these meters, there is a unit on the water pit outside. And so your goal is to just make it 1 meter outside, and there's nothing else inside the house, right?
That's what we're trying to get to. It's just easier from a maintenance perspective. I mean, if you look at the way water systems have operated over the years, there was a period of decades where people put them outside, and there was a period of decades where somebody came and said, we need to put them all inside, and then
Now you got the mix.
then someone like me says, I think they work better outside. And frankly, it's less disruption to the homeowner when they're outside. And so the problem is we have a hodgepodge of both. It'd be great to get more consistent.
Yes.
And our strategic approach is to bring those outside because we think it's less disruption to the customer. It's easier to maintain.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much.
Any further questions?
Yeah, what is an impact fee?
That's a connection fee.
Okay.
So that's the fee that That's the fee that new development is charged for their impact to the system. So the big one that we developed a few years ago was so if you're adding a new home, or say you're taking that single house and you're turning into 2 houses. So now you're increasing the demand because you have 2 houses.
Right.
So that new house as a unit is accessing the already established, already paid for water rights portfolio that's worth $500 million.
Okay.
So that unit buys their share of that portfolio that was bought 50 years ago by the current residents and is owned by the current residents. But if you want to buy into that, you buy that component of that
Got it.
system. And that's what an impact fee or a service connection fee or a system development fee
Okay.
is.
So if you have a house and you scrape it and you build new, you don't pay the impact.
If you keep it to the same service line, you don't pay the impact fee because you already have, like, it's like having a share. So if you think of the utility as a company, if you have a service line, you have a single share.
Okay.
And so if you're tearing your house down, you still have a share because you have that property and you put a new house
I have a question.
on. Sure.
So is the sewer share of this budget already covered in the fee increases? Had we planned ahead for those? Or is the fee increases going to increase again?
No, we've planned for the line item that's assigned to the budget wasn't quite enough for 2024, but we can absorb it through other line items in the budget. So we wouldn't go over the appropriation for the sewer fee. So no, this was planned for, and it does not impact the rate increases that we've already planned for.
So will all of it, the entire amount go through WIPIA or?
Yes, the entire amount can go through WIFIA.
Okay.
And the reason why that is because WIFIA looks at all of these projects as a package. And so we have to provide, 51% funding of our own funding and 49% is WIFIA funded. But an entire subcomponent can fall under WIFIA funding as long as we have another subcomponent that's offsetting that other 51. It's actually one of the beauties of how WIFIA is set up for us, given that we have this programmatic approach to improving our water system, is we can make earlier investments capitalizing on WIFIA, and then later in that process balance that out. So we, at the end, from an accounting perspective, we get the 49% funded by WIFIA and the 51% funded by rates and fees.
Okay, thank you. And then the Cogsdale, obviously we're not using Cogsdale billing. So are we still billing under the old system? Is the utilities department the only department that's not using Cogsdale, or do we have other departments? Do you know?
So Cogsdale is only utilities. So Cogsdale is moving from the advanced system, which is what was in place for the last 10 or 20 years. I don't know how many years it's been in place. So advanced wasn't advanced enough to get us what we needed from a customer billing perspective. So several years ago, the finance and department leadership at the time went with Cogsdale. And so that's the project that we have been working on implementing for quite some time.
Almost 4 years now, right?
Yeah, we are. So the original go live date was which we learned from this, is you never set a go live date to be April 1st. April 1st of 2022. So we are almost 2 years behind schedule on this. Now, what we have insisted on was that they can't just keep charging us because we're so far behind. They provided us, I think we talked about this a few months ago. They provided us a rationale for where they thought that we owed for their overages. We looked at it in great detail. We agreed that some of that was our responsibility and things that they didn't foresee that we should pay for. And so ultimately, of that $250,000 that the project is over, we split that 50-50. Part of how we paid for it was we had some task components of the original contract that we said, you know what, we don't need you to do those anymore. So we're going to take that money. We're not going to let you spend it however you want. We're going to take that money and we're going to use that to offset what our responsibility is. So assign that scope to that overage, such that the only additional money that we have put into this being 2 years behind schedule. The only additional money we've put into this is $75,000. So on $1 million project to be 2 years late and only have incurred $75,000 of additional cost is really a testament to Sarah and Jennifer, who've been beating their head against the wall trying to get this project over the finish line. Now, my understanding is we're close.
Close, we are close. So
So
we,
you got an update on?
yeah, so we are in our final mock go live testing. Depending on how that goes, we are crossing our fingers that we will go live in February, meaning that March bills will be from the new system. So it actually lines up really well with the AMI project, because once this goes through, if it's approved by council and gets authorized to begin, those replacements would not be in advance of the Cogsdale system going live. So we don't have to figure out any programming changes between the old system and the new system. We can do that if something catastrophic happens during that mock go live testing. We can advance this project and keep moving. There's just a little additional coordination.
And so what a mock go live is essentially so in February, the advanced system will produce the bills. But in parallel, the Cogsdale system will produce what it thinks the same bills should be. And what we expect is those are exactly the same.
And if they're not, there's a problem.
And that's where we then go and diagnose if there's problems. And frankly, that's what's been the challenge for the last year and a half, is every time we try to make things match, we uncovered another problem with the system, another problem with systems that are subsystems that wouldn't talk to each other properly. And so the fact that it's happening in the background is taking longer. It's more important to make sure that when that go live hits, that someone is seeing exactly the same bill. So we're in the state now where we're doing the parallels, and if they are exactly the same, then we feel like we're in shape to actually go live. But if they come up with a whole bunch of discrepancies, then we go back and we say, all right, we're not there yet.
So did we pay $1.2 million up front when so whatever the total cost was, we've been paying along?
So the original contract was $1 million, and then there was a $75,000 travel fund associated with it too. That the travel fund is only accessed when they send people out here, and we have 30 something still available.
Yeah, I
on
think it's
that.
like 35,000 still.
So they still haven't used the full 75,000 for that. The $1 million original contract amount, what they have is they send us, what do you call them? Their progress updates?
Progress updates, yeah.
So if they send us a progress update that says we've achieved this milestone, so now we're allowed to bill for this amount. So even though the contract was set, or the original contract was set 4 years ago, they only bill when they complete those milestones along the way. So they still have part of the project that they still have not billed for because they haven't completed go live or mock go live or go live or post go live services. So it's not like an upfront, we give them all the money.
Mhm.
It's, they do a milestone, we pay them. They do a milestone, we pay them.
Okay, so and then after it's paid for, then do we have to continue paying them to service?
Yep. There's an annual maintenance fee.
Okay.
I believe that's 100,000, 110,000.
Yeah, I mean, it increases based on a CPI inflation rate as well.
So it's probably about $100,000 to $110,000 annually, which is about.
But just on the software, not a statement of work.
Correct.
No, yeah, it's a software maintenance agreement. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep. We are hopeful that we can come to you sometime in the near future and say,
February
look at your new bill.
It is leap year. Just saying.
That's right, we have an extra day.
Any further questions or discussion? Great. All right, can we get a motion to recommend that City Council approve by motion a contract for services with Core and Main for the advanced metering infrastructure project in the amount of $3,614,707?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. We have no old business tonight. Next up is staff's choice and the annual customer survey results.
So Sarah's going to present our annual customer survey results as well.
All right, and then I invited Zach Alabassi, our water operations manager, in case there's any questions about what he's been working on. He's been doing a lot of work at the treatment plant to address taste, odor, and hardness. And I think we've made some great progress over the last year. And some of that is reflected in the survey. So I'll take you through the results. This is our second annual survey. It was conducted this last year in 2023 between August 1st and October 9th. So that was based on feedback when we did the study session for council in 2022. We had conducted the survey early in the year, and one of the comments was, well, the water seems to taste worse during the summer, so let's capture the water, opinions about the water during that time. So that's why we moved it to later in the year last year. So we sent every single customer a paper copy of the survey. There was an option to fill it out and send it back to us, or there was an option to do it online. We also made these surveys available at all the city facilities. So we received a total number of responses of 935. So that's down about 30% from 2022. I kind of take that as a good sign, meaning that there's not as, when people want to complain, they'll let you know about it. So I also got from Zach, the calls to the water plant are down about 16%. So starting in August 2022, the water plant started taking inventory of when those calls about complaining about the water taste, odor, hardness happened. And there were 32 in 2022 from August to December. In 2023, we had a total through the year of 27. So it was down 16% just in that short amount of time. So the questions were largely the same. The first question we asked was where do the survey respondents live? That question didn't really produce anything that was significant. There's about 35% of people that did not choose to answer that. And we based it on the neighborhood names that have been given throughout Inglewood. And some of the comments we received is that they just don't want to respond to where they live. So that's not really a significant question at this point. We'll look for ways to improve that next year because we'd like to dial in, can we locate where people are complaining about the water and do something about it? So question number 2 was, how long have you lived in Inglewood? There was a larger increase in the number of respondents that have lived here for 20 plus years. 40% responded last year, this is 49% this year. And then the number that went down to offset that was the number of folks that live in Inglewood for less than 5 years. So that went down from 36 to 25. Question 3, do you drink Inglewood water? That was the exact same as last year. 65% of people said yes, 35% said no. Question number 4 was, how would you rate the tap water at your home or business? This is similar results to last year. 47% said poor. That's down a couple percentage points from last year, where 49% said it was poor. The number of respondents that said it was, average to excellent, or average good to excellent, went down from 41% to 32%. So those people fell into that fair category this year. The number of people that use a filter, that went slightly down from last year. It was 73% last year and 66% this year. This was exactly the same as last year, 50-50 split on whether or not people buy bottled water. Question 7 was if discoloration within the water had been noticed over the last 12 months. It's pretty much the same as last year. 62% said no, 38% said yes. And we asked a new question this year, trying to get an idea of the time of year that folks may be noticing some kind of change in their water. A large majority, 70%, are seeing discoloration between April through September. And this makes a lot of sense just with the warming temperatures, algae blooms during that time. This is expected. Question number 9 was, did you see any improvement in the tap water taste over the last 12 months? So the seen improvement went slightly up from last year. So there was some either noticeable, minor, or significant improvement. That total was 16% of respondents in 2022, and it now is up to 23% in 2023, with 77%. So saying there was no change in the water. Question 10 was about any improvement in the odor of the water. Same as last year, 78% have noticed no change, with the remaining noticing some kind of improvement. Question 11 is about the cost of water. So this is asking, how would you rate the cost? And that was a simple question. And so it was whether they thought it was good, poor, unacceptable. It's similar results to last year, 28% rating the cost of water unacceptable or poor. And that's only up 2% from last year. 72% is rating the cost of water from excellent or from fair to excellent. The next question was, how much are you willing to pay for drinking water provided by the city of Inglewood? The wording in that question indicates that we provide water at less than a penny per gallon directly to your door. So last year, about a quarter of the respondents didn't answer what they were willing to pay. So we forced that answer this year to get a better understanding of what folks thought. And just over half said that they were willing to pay last year, or willing to pay less than a penny per gallon. Last year, that was only 23% of respondents. And then in the comment section, I'll just mention there were several folks that said they'd be willing to pay more if the water tasted or smelled better. Then switching over to the sewer, this is our only question on the sewer side of things, is if what they think of the cost of the sewer service. The percentage of people that think the cost of sewer service is poor to unacceptable was 16%. That's down 2 percentage points from last year. 84% rated the cost between fair and excellent. So there was a greater number of people that moved from that good category to the fair category. The number of people that rated the cost as excellent was down 3 points from last year. So it's 14%. Right, yeah, 14% this year. We had a couple open-ended questions. So how much are you willing to pay for a gallon of bottled water? There was a wide range of answers. The typical answers were a penny to $3 per gallon. Some of the examples of write-in answers were, don't buy or shouldn't have to buy, but nothing significant there. And that's pretty much the same as last year. And then we left it open-ended. I think there was opportunity to add up to 400 characters, maybe more, if there were any additional comments that they would like to provide. The common themes were the cost of water, taste, odor, and hardness, and then some, I guess, good news that our communications is working, that people brought up PFAS and lead service lines. So they are reading the material that we're getting out into the community, which is good. And then we did have a couple that were a slight improvement in the water. I pulled out some of the, what did I call it earlier? Saltier comments. I'll read a couple of those. And I had Brenda print out the report. It's here if anybody wants to take a look and see all the comments. They're all in this report, as well as all the survey results here. We will be providing that in the council packet when we take it to study session next week. So one of the comments was, your water is the worst in Denver. You sell Denver the good water and give us the crap water in the pond down Layton Street. You are typical political leaders. You charge us double for nasty, smelly water. Another is, I pay $150 a month for nasty smelling water that I won't even give my pets. Then on top of that, I pay an additional $1.24 per bottle. I think I should pay for better smelling and tasting water. It's always been awful. I think the water department owes me. I do also want to highlight a couple good comments. The improvement of the water of the last 2 years has been good, and the amount of calcium in the water has dropped. This is noticeable when using the dishwasher. The quality has improved. Please keep going forward. The water tasted and smelled significantly better this summer until September. Even so, it tastes and smell better now than it did last year. Thank you for the improvements, and I'm looking forward to next summer with a little smiley face at the end. So,
First two comments were more fun.
yeah, well, there's several. There's a lot more of those.
We have more of those, right?
Yeah.
There's one in there where they talk about their dog vomiting it back.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Wow.
So, you know, if you need some reading material, we're happy to provide that. So the last thing I want to touch on, because this is always the question we get, is, you know, how much when we say less than a penny per gallon, is that really true? So I always want to just comment on, you know, how we get to that, that number. So this is 2024 rates. The capital improvement fee for a typical customer is $16 a month. So that's with a 3/4 inch meter. The administration fee is $3.36 per month. And then the usage rate is $3.91 per 1,000 gallons. So if a typical user uses 6,000 gallons in a month, their total water bill, that's just the water component, is $42.82 or 0.007 cents per gallon. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
So this is the second year of what is a long game trend analysis. So we want to see what happens. So what will be great to see is in 5 years, are we seeing noticeable change, these remarkable shifts? 10 years, are we seeing sustained shifts? So really this will start to, I think it's great to have 2 years to compare it to, but each year that we're tracking this will now actually have real data as opposed to anecdotal. It was, you know, it was bad, it was good, it was whatever.
You guys mind if I ask a question? So have we had any communication about the improvement of the taste or the odor over the past year or before the survey came out?
So we do updates about the efforts to improve taste, odor, and hardness. We haven't said anything taste, odor, and hardness have improved. We've said city ditch is a project that's focused on working on taste, odor, and hardness. We've done operational improvements that have worked on taste, odor, and hardness. So we do those communications throughout the year. I mean, how many we do some online ones and then also some written ones.
Correct. Yeah. So we do at least 1 or 2 articles in the Inglewood Citizen magazine, and then post updates on our website. And then any annual reporting, we're listing out the various projects. There's a taste, odor, and hardness section on our website where we provide those kind of updates as well. And you know, with what Zach is working on with the staff at the plant, those are harder to quantify and really, you know, list out because they're tweaks to the treatment process. There are changes in, you know, in the source water quality and things that, you know, we can certainly work on communicating out, but it's just a little bit more, you know, nuanced in the way we'd have to describe them.
So we're continually working with communications to push out, here's what we're working on, here's what we're working on, here's what we're working on. We also did a lot of forward-facing communication through neighborhood nights this year.
Yeah.
We had we had to attend every meeting or every event. And then we had a table with broken valves and broken pipes so that people could see this is what the money is paying for. So we're working on getting it out there, but we're not necessarily saying we fixed anything yet.
Right. Well, the next big milestone, we haven't really hit the next big milestones in terms of improving the taste and odor, right?
The big one is City Ditch.
Yeah.
Getting it so that we can largely shift our source water to Chatfield.
Yeah.
That's the big one on hardness. On taste and odor, it's really the work that Zach and his team are doing at the plant. And specifically they've uncovered that North Reservoir is really a contributor to a lot of taste and odor issues. And so the way the system was set up from a piping perspective, we have ways to bypass or directly feed the plant. So Zach and Josh and the team at the treatment plant are looking at expanding the way we operate the plant to be able to move away from impacted water when we think it's impacted. The solids handling project,
Right.
solids is a big contributor to that. That decant from the south to the north is a big contributor to taste, odor, and hardness. So that project, once we start cranking all those solids out, or we figure out how we can discharge that potentially differently, that should have an effect.
Okay. Sounds good.
Peter, if I could speak to one more aspect of our communication is, anytime there's a call, we get a call or response, that's always going to elicit us to respond to that customer, go to that house, to ask questions. If there's a taste and odor issue, when does it happen? Experience all years at certain times of the year. Then we're taking samples, and Zach's analyzing those samples. He's getting the results of those samples, going over that with the customer. And then we invite that customer, if they have additional concerns or questions with taste and odor that happens throughout the year, to give us a call, because we want to know the information. We want to know what you're experiencing. Or Ryan will go outside and we'll open up a hydrant, we'll float it, and we'll look at the system, how it's laid out and how it flows, and say, yeah, your house is at the end of a line. We should be here more often, opening a hydrant, flushing it. So anytime we get a call, it's not, okay, thanks for the information, or put it in a survey or write it down, but we're responding. We're going to those homes and saying, what specifically are you experiencing? Because that helps us help them with their taste and odor. So to me, one of the biggest aspects of our communication is as we get those calls and concerns and comments, it's like, okay, where's your house? Where do you live? Is it okay if we come and experience that, take samples and talk to you? Because those are the people that are actually calling and say, I have an issue, I have a concern. And that's the people I want to talk to, and I want Ryan and Zach to really talk to.
Right.
And actually you brought me the realtor.
Yeah, the one that lives on Lincoln.
Yeah, and so Ryan met her out at her house and talked her through. I don't know what the outcome of that was, but
And she had some questions about whether her service line was lead or not, and we were able to answer those really quickly. And then she also had some taste and odor concerns, and it was the best tasting glass of water I have ever had. The day that I was there, I mean, like actually, so we did a lot of work in that area of the system over the summer, so that may have played, we moved a lot of water through there, so that may have played a role in that, but yeah, it was a really positive experience.
I think that actually brings up a good point. I think there's been so many people that have historically just experienced bad water that we may improve it, but they may not be trying it because.
Well, that's kind of my point. If they're unaware of if our citizens are unaware of the changes that we're making, and they, that needs to be the trigger for them to change.
Yeah.
And so obviously and that's why I was talking to what the next milestones are. That's going to be when the communication really goes out for the community at large. But
Yep.
I think there are going to have to be little things that we do say.
I almost feel like, a billboard that says, have you tried your water lately? Something that people see every day, something that, hey, we've made something that just gets out to people more than just an online presence, but something that is in, I don't know where we can put billboards up, but
There's one over by the tracks here.
see, maybe we'll rent some billboard space.
And that's part of the effort, is part of my expectation. We get that call, we really do go, I think, above and beyond, because historically, there's been a lot of taste and odor issues,
Yeah.
a lot of concerns, and the mentality is Inglewood's water needs to improve. So we're going to sample, we're going to go to your site. If you call on utilities and say, I have a taste concern, they're going to take that, maybe they'll send someone out. They're not going to go to the level that we're going to right now, as far as we want to know everything about what you're experiencing. We're going to take samples at our cost. So we want to know, and that's just to help us turn the tide of that perception that we've had over the past.
Cool. Thank you.
Marjan?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to mention a couple of things, since I live right behind the plant. And I have to say that I experienced that up and down journey of the taste and smell. And I have to congratulate your staff, because it definitely dropped quite a bit. as far as the smell goes and the taste goes. Now, I'm not a good person to testify about what is the taste because I have 9 filters on the water I utilize for cooking and drinking. I even learned to water my plants with that because I learned that some of my plants were dying originally when I was. So I wanted to congratulate you guys for your hard work of trying to do a great job. And Josh, I really admire the action that you're taking by going to these people. And because, one cannot compare their perception of what quality is based on one person's journey. Because I mean, if I'm drinking someone else's, I can't even buy Starbucks because to me it tastes horrible. Because I'm used to drinking water that is clean all the time, cooking and drinking it. So, so it's like a perception of having hard data in front of you is really helpful. That these people are experiencing this. And I once I came in and you guys educated me, Peter did a great job of showing me what was causing that, and Zach and all of those explanation was so helpful. And I find that very helpful if people have a source of communication to come and reach out to you guys directly and say, these are our issue. And then that way it brings clarity to the situation. So thank you for doing that. Also, I wanted to mention something. So when you, if I'm understanding correctly, so there was only 962 people responded to the survey, Sarah. So I don't know how when you guys send out this survey, but I remember this last one when I got it. It was like 10 days past the time that I could actually respond to it myself. And I always try to respond to the surveys because I think it's a great data and it's money invested in it. But then the window of opportunity was lost. So I don't know if it was a mail issue. I don't know what it was, but I really think that maybe giving people, if the investment in getting the printouts is there, so as might as well give them a little bit extra time. With everybody having such hectic lives, maybe time limitation could be expanded a little bit, so that way people have more ability to respond to these surveys.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't respond to mine. I literally, it wasn't like 1 or 2 days past. It was like 10 days, if I remember correctly. It's like next time I'll write down when I receive it. So that way I can give you a better data about that. I apologize. I don't have that. I should have done that. But yeah, and then I feel like, was that a problem that caused? Because I know quite a bit of money spent to get these surveys back. So we want to utilize them even more efficiently.
So I think, so we're a little bit surprised by that. We had 935 total respondents, but we send them out in the utility bill itself. And the survey is open from August 1st to October 9th. And so it would have come in your August utility bill. And so that would give at least another 5 weeks to respond. So if somehow it didn't get stuffed into your bill or something like that.
No, I'm not talking about the major survey. I'm talking about there was like little flyer thing that it was saying that share with us what's your comment. I don't know if you guys were sending it to random people. I personally always like to give feedback. No, it wasn't the actual survey with the questionnaire that I got. I'm talking about there was a like a.
We do a postcard mailer on it?
We did not do a postcard about this survey. I know the city does other surveys, so I don't know if that was maybe a different survey that was going on at the same time. We didn't do any type of postcard or insert. We only sent out the survey and then made it available at city facilities, as well as posted about it on social media throughout that time that it was open.
And it was related to go to the site and leave your comments on the site, but the time frame of it was way. So I'll find it because I saved it. I'll find it in my paperwork and I'll let you know what it was. Yes. Thank you so much.
Our final agenda item tonight is just board members' choice. Is there anyone that wants to squeeze anything in real quick?
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for a good, very interesting 8 years, and guess we'll see you around somewhere.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
All right.
That was-
Wonderful. Well, we are adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year to everybody. Happy New Year.
Enjoy your retirement, Don.
Yes.